Somewhere between our 50s and 70s, we start noticing things we didn't pay much attention to before. Maybe it's that little warning on a lab result, your cholesterol is a bit high, or maybe it's the slight heaviness in the chest after a rich meal. Sometimes it's just a gut feeling that says, hey, maybe it's time to take better care of this heart that's been beating for me all these years. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. I've worked with hundreds of patients over the age of 50, good people living full lives who just want to feel a little lighter, a little safer, and a little more in control of their health. And today I want to have a quiet, honest conversation with you about something that touches almost every one of us as we age: cholesterol. Now, before your mind runs off to medications and strict diets, let me stop you right there. This isn't going to be one of those lectures. You're not here for guilt or pressure. You're here because you care. And I'm here because I've seen again and again how simple choices made consistently with understanding and intention can change lives. Not just numbers on a chart, but how you feel in your own skin. So today we're going to talk about how to lower cholesterol naturally, not with fear, but with knowledge, not with impossible rules, but with doable steps. And not just for your heart, but for your energy, your brain, your joints, your future. I'll be sharing 10 practical proven ways you can take back the reins on your health, starting with the food on your plate, the way you move your body, and the tiny habits that slowly shape your entire future. But before we dive into the first tip, I want to say this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to take one honest step and then another. Like my patient Ed, he's 67 now, used to be a truck driver. When we first met, he told me, Doc, I've eaten more cheeseburgers and salads in my lifetime. Is it too late for me? And I looked him in the eye and said, it's only too late if you stop trying. That was 3 years ago. He started small, swapped white bread for whole grain, took evening walks with his granddaughter. Last year, for the first time since he was 40, his cholesterol hit the normal range. And more than that, he said he finally felt lighter inside and out. So whether you're starting from scratch or just need a few reminders to get back on track, let this be a moment of hope, not shame. Take a deep breath. Put the kettle on if you'd like. Let's sit down and talk heart to heart. Because the steps you take today, they could be the reason you walk farther next year. Breathe easier, sleep deeper, and feel finally like yourself again. Are you ready? Let's begin. 1. The first natural key: soluble fiber. A gentle broom for your heart. Let's start where so much healing begins, with food. But not just any food. I'm talking about fiber, specifically soluble fiber. Now I know fiber doesn't sound all that exciting. It's not trendy. It doesn't come in flashy packaging. But it might just be one of the most powerful allies your heart has. Soluble fiber is found in foods like oats, beans, apples, pears, even sweet potatoes. And here's the beautiful part. When you eat soluble fiber, it acts like a gentle broom inside your digestive system. It sweeps up LDL, the bad cholesterol, and helps carry it out of your body before it ever has a chance to build up in your arteries. Let me tell you about Marlene. She's 72, a retired school librarian who bakes the best banana bread in her neighborhood. But a few years ago, she came to me with borderline high cholesterol. She wasn't a fan of medications, and she said, Doc, I'm ready to make changes, but please don't take away my baking. So we didn't. Instead, we added something: a warm bowl of oatmeal each morning topped with sliced apples and a sprinkle of cinnamon. She swapped half the flour in her banana bread for oat flour, added lentils to her soups. Just little shifts, nothing dramatic. 6 months later, her LDL dropped by nearly 20 points. No pills, no strict diet, just fiber doing its quiet magic. But it's not just about the numbers. Marlene said something I'll never forget. I feel more regular, yes, but also more balanced. Like my body is working with me again, not against me. And science backs her up. Soluble fiber not only lowers LDL, but it also helps control blood sugar, supports a healthy gut microbiome, and keeps you full longer, making it easier to avoid those late-night snacks we all know too well. So here's what I want you to try this week. Add just one serving of soluble fiber to your day. Maybe it's a cup of oatmeal for breakfast, or a handful of black beans in your salad. Maybe just an apple with the skin on as an afternoon snack. That's it. One simple act of kindness toward your heart. And if you're someone who struggled with digestion bloating or constipation, this might help there too. Because when your gut feels good, your heart usually follows. You don't have to do everything all at once. Just one quiet change, one nourishing choice. That's where healing begins. Next, we'll talk about fats, but not the scary kind, the kind your heart actually loves. 2. The heart's best friend, healthy fats that heal. I want to talk about something that's gotten a pretty bad reputation over the years: fat. Yes, fat. For decades, we were told that fat is the enemy, that it clogs our arteries, raises our cholesterol, and expands our waistlines. But here's the truth: not all fats are created equal. In fact, some fats are not only not harmful, they're actually essential. They protect your heart, nourish your brain, and even help regulate inflammation throughout your body. Let me take you back to a conversation I had with Carl. Carl is 65, a retired firefighter with a handshake like steel and the gentlest heart you'll ever meet. He came into my office one afternoon and said, "Doc, I've been eating dry toast and boiled chicken for 2 months. I'm trying to be good, but I'm starving and miserable." I smiled and said, "Carl, let's get some joy back onto your plate." We talked about healthy fats, the kind found in avocados, olive oil, almonds, walnuts, chia seeds, and fatty fish like salmon or sardines. Instead of dry toast, Carl started drizzling a bit of extra virgin olive oil over roasted vegetables. He swapped his midday crackers for a handful of walnuts. Once a week, he treated himself to grilled salmon with a squeeze of lemon and fresh herbs. And you know what? Not only did his HDL, the good cholesterol, go up, but his LDL dropped even more than expected. But here's the most important part: he started enjoying his food again. Because healthy eating shouldn't feel like punishment. It should feel like coming home to a table that loves you back. Now, I'm not saying go pour olive oil on everything. Balance still matters. But swapping out saturated fats like those found in butter, lard, and processed meats for unsaturated fats is a powerful change. Studies show that replacing just 5% of your daily calories from saturated fats with healthy fats can reduce your risk of heart disease by up to 25%. That's huge. And it's something you can do without turning your life upside down. Here's a little tip. If it comes from a whole plant and it feels oily but natural like avocado or olive, it's probably a good fat. If it comes from a wrapper, smells like a fast food kitchen, or sits on a shelf for months, be cautious. So today, maybe start with a tablespoon of olive oil instead of margarine. Maybe slice half an avocado on your sandwich. Maybe sprinkle chia seeds on your yogurt or try salmon for dinner. Tiny things, but they whisper loudly to your heart, I've got you. And the heart, as you know, listens. Up next, we'll explore something colorful, healing, and full of life, the rainbow on your plate. 3. Eat the rainbow, let color heal you. Now let's paint a different kind of picture. Imagine a plate not beige and bland, but bursting with color. Deep greens, vibrant oranges, bold reds, soft purples, bright yellows. That's not just a pretty plate. That's medicine in its most delicious form. Because when it comes to lowering cholesterol and truly nourishing your body, variety matters, and so does color. Each color in fruits and vegetables signals a different kind of healing. Compound antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, fiber, all working together like a symphony for your heart and arteries. Let me introduce you to Rosa. She's 69, used to be a florist, and still wears bright lipstick every day, even to walk her dog. When she first came to me, her diet was mostly beige, white bread, white rice, pasta, cheese. She said, Doc, I'm tired. I don't feel alive. And honestly, my food doesn't excite me anymore. So we made it a game. Each week, Rosa picked one new color to add to her meals. Week 1, green. She tried spinach in her omelet, broccoli in her stir fry. Week 2, red. Cherry tomatoes, red. Bell peppers, a handful of raspberries. Then came purple cabbage, orange sweet potatoes, golden mangoes. 3 months in, she laughed and said, my kitchen looks like a fruit stand, and somehow I feel younger. She wasn't imagining it. Research shows that people who consume a wide variety of colorful fruits and vegetables have lower levels of LDL, better blood vessel function, and reduced inflammation, all critical for heart health. Some stars of the rainbow. Berries rich in anthocyanins, they help reduce oxidative stress. Leafy greens like kale and spinach, packed with magnesium and nitrates to relax blood vessels. Cruciferous veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, they help detoxify the liver where cholesterol is processed. Citrus fruits full of vitamin C and soluble fiber. But don't stress about the science. Just remember this. If your plate looks dull, your body might feel dull too. If your plate shines, so will you. Here's a simple way to begin. At your next meal, well, ask yourself what color is missing, then go find it. Even if it's just a handful of grapes or a slice of roasted carrot, you're not just feeding your body, you're feeding your vitality. And as we age, we don't just want more years, we want more color in those years. So go ahead, eat the rainbow. Your heart will thank you in more ways than one. Next, we'll talk about something often overlooked but deeply important, how you cook your food and why the method matters just as much as the meal. 4. Cooking with care when the method becomes the message. Let's pause for a moment and go back not to a nutrition label but to your kitchen. Because how you cook your food matters just as much as what you cook. You see, many of us grew up in a time when the smell of sizzling oil meant comfort. Sunday fried chicken, golden hash browns, a pot of stew with a thick layer of fat glistening on top. It felt like home, and there's nothing wrong with memories. But when it comes to cholesterol, how we prepare our food can either heal our hearts or quietly harm them. I remember James, he's 73, a retired mechanic, always smelled faintly of motor oil and fresh peppermint. He came to see me after a mild heart scare, and when I asked about his diet, he said proudly, Doc, I eat vegetables every day, which sounded great until I asked how he cooked them. Usually fried in bacon grease, he chuckled. Ah, there it was. So we made a gentle shift. Instead of frying, James began roasting his vegetables with just a brush of olive oil and a pinch of herbs. Instead of deep frying his fish, he baked it with lemon and dill. He even learned how to steam broccoli and drizzle it with garlic and lemon juice. After a few weeks, he told me, "You know what surprised me? Food still tastes like me, just without the guilt." And here's what science tells us. When we cook with high heat and lots of oil, especially saturated or reused oils, we create compounds that damage blood vessels, raise LDL, and increase inflammation. But when we switch to steaming, boiling, baking, roasting, or even microwaving, we preserve the nutrients and avoid the harmful byproducts of frying. Think of it like this: the flame can either feed your fire or burn you out. So here's a little challenge. The next time you cook, ask yourself, can I prepare this in a way that shows kindness to my heart? It might mean using less oil, trying parchment paper instead of a greasy pan, using fresh herbs and spices instead of relying on butter for flavor. And no, this doesn't mean never enjoying a crispy bite again. It just means being mindful, choosing balance over habit. Because when you cook with care, you're not just making a meal, you're making a message, one that says, I still love good food, but I love my life more. In the next part, we'll talk about protein choices and how the kind of meat and dairy you eat can quietly shape your cholesterol story for better or worse. 5. Lean into it. Choosing proteins that love you back. Let's talk about protein, the building blocks of strength, energy, and vitality. For many of us, especially those who grew up during the post-war years, meat was a sign of prosperity. A thick steak on the grill, bacon at breakfast, cream in the coffee. It meant you were doing well. You were providing. And in many ways that was true. But now, as we grow older, our bodies ask for something different. Not less nourishment, just smarter nourishment. Let me tell you about Walter. Walter is 70, a retired police officer, big-hearted and no nonsense. When he first came to see me, his cholesterol numbers weren't terrible, but they were slowly creeping up. He said, "Doc, I don't eat junk food. I cook at home. But I do love my beef. We didn't take it away. Instead, we worked on trading up." Walter switched from marbled ribeye to lean cuts like sirloin or tenderloin. He chose skinless turkey or chicken instead of processed deli meats. And instead of full-fat dairy, he began using low-fat Greek yogurt, unsweetened almond milk, and reduced-fat cheese. He didn't feel deprived, he felt informed. And 6 months later, his LDL dropped, his HDL rose, and he told me something that made me smile. I used to eat with my habits. Now I eat with my future in mind. Here's why this works. Saturated fats found in fatty red meats, full-fat dairy, and processed cuts like sausage or bacon tend to raise LDL, the cholesterol that contributes to plaque buildup in your arteries. Leaner meats, low-fat dairy, and plant-based proteins like lentils or tofu offer all the nourishment with far less of the risk. It's not about becoming vegetarian. It's about choosing quality trimming, visible fat, and leaning into proteins that love you back. Here are a few gentle swaps. Grilled salmon instead of fried pork, and skinless chicken breast instead of processed lunch meats. Low-fat milk or oat milk instead of whole milk. A lentil stew once a week, hearty, filling, and heart-friendly. And remember, protein isn't just meat. Beans, lentils, quinoa, tofu, these can be deeply satisfying, especially when seasoned well. So if meat is a big part of your comfort, keep it. Just meet it halfway. Trim it, lighten it, balance it. because your plate doesn't have to feel like sacrifice. It can feel like wisdom served warm. Next, we'll take a walk together, literally. We'll talk about movement not as punishment, but as a gift you give to your heart and to yourself. 6. Move gently, live stronger. Exercise as a love letter to your heart. Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you moved, not because you had to, but because it made you feel alive? For many of us, exercise became a chore somewhere along the way. Something we should do, something doctors tell us when the blood pressure creeps up or the weight won't budge. But I want to invite you to see movement differently, not as punishment, but as permission. Permission to feel more energy, more freedom in your body, more confidence in your steps. I had a patient once, her name was June. She was 68, a retired piano teacher, very proper, very polite. She told me, "Doctor, I don't like gyms. I've never worn yoga pants. I'm not that type." I smiled and said, "That's fine, June, but tell me, do you ever dance?" She paused. "Well, sometimes I sway in the kitchen when I cook." "Perfect," I said. "Start there." So she did. Each morning while the kettle boiled, she'd play her favorite jazz record and let her feet move. Just 5 minutes. No rules, no judgment. By the end of the month, she was walking to the mailbox with a new bounce in her step. 3 months and her cholesterol levels improved. But more importantly, she told me, "I feel like there's music in my body again." That's what movement can do. Aerobic activity, even mild walking, gardening, or dancing, raises your HDL, the good cholesterol, and lowers your LDL and triglycerides. It also helps your body use insulin better, lowers blood pressure, improves mood, and keeps your joints more limber. But you don't need a Fitbit or fancy shoes to get started. You just need to move more than yesterday. Here are a few ideas. A 15-minute stroll after lunch. Light stretching while watching TV. Dancing in the kitchen like June. Parking a little farther away at the store just for those extra steps. The goal isn't sweat. The goal is circulation, because when blood moves, healing moves. Um, when muscles engage, your heart says, "Thank you." And remember, consistency always beats intensity. I'd rather see you walk gently every day than push hard once and never again. So today, I want you to stand up even just for 5 minutes. Roll your shoulders. Lift your arms. Let your body remember what it feels like to be in motion. Because this body of yours, it may have somewhere a few creaks and groans, but it still works, and it's still yours. In our next part, we'll talk about 2 habits that can silently undo all the good you're building: smoking and excessive alcohol, and how to take your power back from them, one breath, one choice at a time. 7. Smoke, drink, and the quiet thieves of heart health. There are 2 things I almost hesitate to bring up because I know they're personal and often wrapped in history, habit, and even comfort. Smoking and alcohol. Now, before you shut the door or tune me out, just hear me out. Gently. This isn't a lecture. It's a hand on your shoulder and a quiet truth. These 2 things, more than most, can quietly undo everything else you're trying to build. I once had a patient, his name was Robert, 72 years old, a Korean War vet, tough as nails, smoked a pack a day since he was 18. He came in after a minor heart episode. We talked about cholesterol, food, exercise, and then I asked gently, "Do you still smoke?" He nodded. "Doc, I've tried quitting, but cigarettes, They've been with me longer than most people I know. I understood deeply. So I didn't ask him to quit that day. I asked him to imagine. I said, picture your granddaughter's wedding. You're there upright, walking her down the aisle, breathing steady, feeling strong. Can you see it? His eyes softened. I want that, he said. And so we began not with shame, but with vision. Over the next year, he cut down slowly, joined a support group, picked up breathing exercises. On his 73rd birthday, he brought me a small cake and said, 1 year smoke-free. First time since I was a kid. He wasn't just proud. He was free. Now here's what the science says, clear and unshakable. Smoking lowers your HDL. The good cholesterol raises your LDL, and triglycerides damages your blood vessels and makes it harder for your body to clear plaque. It speeds up atherosclerosis, raises blood pressure, and inflames the very arteries your heart depends on. Alcohol, especially in excess, raises triglycerides, taxes the liver, which processes cholesterol and often leads to weight gain, sleep disruption, and mood changes. That glass of wine at dinner, in moderation, it may be fine, even relaxing. But 2 to 3, 4 drinks a night, your heart feels it quietly, consistently, deeply. But here's the hope: every cigarette not smoked is a breath your heart thanks you for. Every drink not poured is a gift to your liver, your mind, your sleep. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be honest. So if you're someone who smokes, could you go an hour longer between cigarettes? If you drink nightly, could you try 3 nights a week alcohol-free? Not as punishment, but as freedom training. Because what's at stake isn't just numbers, it's moments. More walks, more birthdays, more full, vibrant days. And that future, it starts with the choices you make tonight. Next, we'll talk about stress and sleep, the silent influencers of cholesterol, and how the way you rest affects the way you live. 8. Rest, release, and the heart's quiet whisper. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly rested? Not just closed your eyes, not just lay still in bed, but rested in your mind, your breath, your bones. We often talk about food and exercise when it comes to heart health. But what we don't talk about enough is the weight we carry on the inside, the stress, the worry, the overthinking, and the nights spent staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Yes, stress and sleep matter, not just emotionally, but biologically. You see, when we're under chronic stress, our bodies produce cortisol, a hormone that in high amounts can raise LDL cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood sugar. It can also increase inflammation, tighten blood vessels, and make it harder for our hearts to relax even when we're not doing anything at all. And sleep. Sleep is when the body repairs itself, when the liver processes fats, when the heart slows down and finally gets a break. Without enough quality sleep, even the best diet and workout plan will feel like a battle uphill. I think of Nancy, 66, a caregiver for her husband with Parkinson's. She once told me, I eat well, I walk every day, but I still feel heavy. And I asked, how are you sleeping? She looked away. Maybe 4 hours. My mind won't stop. I'm always on alert. We didn't start with melatonin or medication. We started with permission. Permission to pause, to sit quietly with a cup of tea before bed, to write down the worries of the day, then gently close the notebook, to stretch, breathe, listen to soft music, or pray. 2 months later, she came back and said, My body feels softer, my thoughts less loud, and I'm sleeping through the night. Sometimes it's not about doing more, it's about letting go. So if stress and sleepless nights have become familiar to you, you're not alone. But you do deserve better. Here are a few quiet ideas to try. A short walk at sunset just to clear your mind. Turning off screens an hour before bed. Breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, just 5 rounds before sleep. Saying out loud something kind to yourself. I did enough today. Because your heart listens not just to what you eat or how you move, but to the way you treat yourself in stillness. Give it gentleness. Give it peace. It may be the most powerful medicine you've never been prescribed. And in our final section, we'll pull it all together with a vision for your next 7 days, a gentle plan to lower cholesterol and raise the quality of your life step by honest step. 9. The gentle 7-day reset, a loving start toward a healthier heart. So now we've walked together through so many pieces of the puzzle, from what you eat to how you move to the way you rest and breathe. And if you're anything like the many people I've sat with over the years, you might be wondering, where do I begin? How do I take all of this and actually start changing without feeling overwhelmed? Here's my answer. Begin simply. Begin softly. Begin with 7 days. Let's call this your gentle 7-day reset. Not a challenge, not a diet, but a quiet return to yourself and a deeper care for the heart that's carried you through so much already. Day 1. Add 1 color. Choose 1 new fruit or vegetable you haven't eaten in a while. Let your plate look a little more alive today. Day 2, swap just 1 fat. Try cooking with olive oil instead of butter, or add a slice of avocado to your sandwich. 1 shift is enough. Day 3, welcome soluble fiber. Begin your morning with a bowl of oatmeal or add black beans to your lunch. Let fiber sweep your body gently. Day 4, move for 15 minutes. Take a stroll around the block. Dance in the living room. Stretch by the window. Let your blood move. Day 5, a stress pause. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. Remind your body, I am safe now. Day 6, lighten the protein. Try a lean cut of chicken or make lentil soup. Explore protein that fuels you without burdening your heart. Day 7, rest like you mean it. Turn off the lights early. Sip chamomile tea. Let your mind settle. Give your body the sleep it deserves. None of these days are about perfection. They're about presence, about kindness, about remembering that you are allowed to change 1 breath at a time. You might not feel different overnight, but give it a week and you may notice your rings fit better, your energy hums a little louder, your breath feels freer. You may even start to believe something powerful, that it's not too late, that your body still wants to heal, that your heart, though maybe tired, is not done yet. So before we say goodbye, let me leave you with this. Every step you take in the direction of health, no matter how small, is a declaration of love, not just for your heart, but for your future, for the people who love you, and for the quiet, worthy self within you who still wants to dance, laugh, hug, cook, and live fully. So go easy, go gently, but go. And if this video spoke to you even just a little, share it with someone you love. Let's build a life not just longer, but deeper, brighter, kinder. Your heart is listening. Take care of it. And I'll see you in the next video.